Well, this episode certainly took some very bold directions. So I really enjoyed how the opening scene was an homage to the old Hulk show from the 70s. That was a nice little gag. That was a nice little reference. I don't want to say it's a deep cut, but I don't think anybody who's the target audience for this got that joke. Unless they're like super into like the Marvel lore. But for those who were like diehard Marvel fans and understood that was a reference to the 70s Hulk show, that was a nice little way to open it. And on the one hand, I did enjoy the breaking of the fourth wall. And they've done this before, with that one WandaVision episode that was literally called Breaking the Fourth Wall, even though she wasn't really doing that because that was all, an illusion from Agatha or whatever. And that's kind of a smart choice for them to actually, literally break the fourth wall to the point where she goes to the Disney Plus algorithm, breaks and goes, yeah, okay, I'm going to enter this show and actually go to the Marvel Studios lot. So that by the time we get to Deadpool 3, it's not super out of left field and it doesn't feel out of place because they're laying that foundation with this show so that when Deadpool 3 goes super meta, it'll actually feel like it belongs in the MCU. But on the other hand, it seems like they did this, the way they did it in this episode at least, as an excuse to excuse lazy writing. Not just for the show, but just as a whole for the MCU. Hey, we know the MCU is almost always the same thing ending-wise, but that's the fault of an AI. An AI named Kevin, who's very clearly named after Kevin Feige. And I thought Kevin Feige was going to show up, but no, they ended up making him an AI, but it was clearly supposed to be Kevin Feige. They're not going to make fun of him directly, but it's clear that that was supposed to be. We're blaming an AI, but, you could also try something different. It's like they're trying to shield the show and any future projects from criticism by doing this. I found that funny, but at the same time, I also found it kind of effortless. I didn't think the stakes of this episode were that interesting, and frankly, I found the first half of this episode very heavy-handed and preachy. I was rolling my eyes. I was like, really, this is what we're doing? And even when She-Hulk was like, this is what we're doing, I was like, yeah, well, again, you're using the, really, this is what we're doing as an excuse to, again, excuse your criticisms. You can't do that. You can't lampshade your lazy writing. But, that being said, I am excited to see what happens next with Hulk, because he has a son now, Scar! Now, does this mean that they're planning a Agents of Smash live-action show? Because I know that there's that cartoon, which I haven't seen all of it. I've seen a few episodes, so that's how I knew who Scar was. So does that mean that they're planning a live-action Agents of Smash show? I don't know. And also, in the credits scene, you'll notice, Wong says he's been away in another show. His words, not mine. That's literally what they say. It's sorry I took so long to break you out, Blonsky. I've been away in another show. Because we live in an era of peak television. Now, what could it be? So that kind of confirms Wong is going to show up again in some capacity. What show it's going to be remains to be seen. I'm kind of excited to see what they do with that. Now, personally, I think this episode was, for the most part, just an excuse to shield themselves from the less than positive reception the show's been getting. But I still found it kind of funny. Anyway, let me know what you guys thought about this episode and of the show as a whole. And I'll see you next time.